Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello there, all of my awesome MS warriors. And you know what? I think that we're warriors even before we realize it. The fact that we get up every day and do what we have to do to survive. We pay attention to the feeling in our feet when we get out of bed to see if it's okay to walk. We do our best to make it to the pisser on time. We do a lot of things every day, all day, that nobody could even imagine. But the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to spend some time helping you get to know me. So, honestly, I have had MS for going on 12 years, and it never really gets easier as far as the health is concerned, but your brain develops this most amazing thing where you adjust and you adapt, but not everybody does. But for me, it was easier when I could be of service to other people. Gave me a job, gave me a purpose. And I don't know what anybody else's purpose is for their life, or they don't know yet, but the whole thing is just crazy. But to start out, I often tell people I am uniquely qualified for this job, meaning being a support to people with MS. My family is just ate up with multiple sclerosis. And I mean, to give you an example, my mother passed away from complications of MS, and she had probably one of the more severe kinds. And then my aunt on my father's side passed away from complications of MS. I say complications, but she suffered from severe depression, and that just kills a person faster than it needs to. Anyways, my little sister has MS. And the funniest thing is we were diagnosed in the same year. And we've always been close in things and like the way our brains work, and because it was just us as children. And it was so funny because, well, it wasn't really funny, but it's funny to look back on. But I remember when my sister told me this diagnosis she was getting because of some strange numbness and different things, and you know, me and her, without even talking to each other, we thought, oh my goodness, it's the thing that is going to haunt us, the thing we've been worried about ever since we lost our mother. And and fortunately, we had an idea of what it might be, so it wasn't a shock. But unfortunately, it ended up being a whole bunch of relapsing, readmitting MS. So, and she presented with some numbness, and then her vision stuff was a little weird, and everybody was fried. We were so worried. We didn't know how we were going to feel about this. And oh, my sister, she has MS, and then the craziest thing happened. I would say a few months later, I started developing numbness from the waist down. And I'm telling you, I just gotten married. And so no matter how you look at it, that's not sexy. You want to keep your crotch. So anyways, it was weird because had these feelings, and then I was like, oh my goodness, this can't be real. Because my sister just got diagnosed. Maybe it's some kind of sympathetic thing where I, like husbands do when their wives are pregnant, pick on their symptoms and stuff like that. So I started talking to them and telling people about my numbness, and they looked at me like I was insane. They didn't seem like they were looking at me like that. They didn't think they were, but that was exactly what they were doing. They were looking at me going, oh, Roxana's lost it. And I've already been a little theatrical, and I've already been a little, dramatic. So I wouldn't blame them to think and even me, I thought I might be losing it. And the crazy thing is my sister got diagnosed with MS, and then within the same year, I ended up getting diagnosed with MS. And I think because of her family history, it was a pretty easy diagnosis after doing the, what they'll do is they'll give you MRIs, and then they'll do a spinal tap and this whole thing. And if you have the spinal tap says that, hey, yeah, she has what we're looking for to tell us they have MS, it's the truth, and you can't deny it. And just imagine being the girl with the phantom disease after her sister got a phantom disease and trying to explain to people that you're not certifiable. I'm not saying I haven't had moments, but this was not one of them. And truth be told, it was a mind blower. Number one, because, I don't want to get diagnosed after my sister and then, everybody think I'm crazy, but also in my marriage, that's a thing. And when I found out, I turned to my husband, and I was serious. I was dead serious. I told him, hey, if you're going to go now. Because I've seen what men do with women with MS. They can't hack it. They can't keep it together, and then they leave. And it's women too with men with MS. It's not one way or the other more, but I let him know. I gave him the out. And he was more heartbroken than you can imagine. He had his little hand on his chest in a fence, and it was just bananas, because it was kind of like a thing where I was ready to see him go. I wasn't, but I wanted him to feel like I was, and I was going to be a tough girl. And granted, like my dad with my mom, he was amazing. He was there from the beginning to the end. So it wasn't out of personal experience, but it's what you've heard and what you see, and it's a hard journey for the loved one of a person with MS. It's never easy. So then he looked at me like I was just the most messed up person in the world, and he couldn't believe I would say something like that. Because he was all in, man. He was all in with the marriage. He was all in with, and honestly, we've known each other since we were children, and that's a story for another time. But we were supposed to be together. And it's so funny because he had ADD when he did, or he still probably has adult ADD, but he has it under control. He had, his ADD issue, ADHD, I should say. And I remember he used to get on my nerves. He was a year younger. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this little crazy monster. And he's always off somewhere acting crazy, burning crap, and being up to no good. And really it's just because he was looking for something to do with all those brains he had. And to look back now, I realized that God had put this man in my life, in and out through my whole life, so he could be the man I needed to deal with this MS situation. And it's not easy. It's not easy for the person who's got it, and it's not easy for the person who loves the person. Because, I imagine it's hard for us because we're living it, but then it becomes old hat. But for the person who loves you, they have to watch somebody they love be uncomfortable and hurt off and on with no warning. And I can't imagine how that would be, what that would feel like. I would hope that if it was reciprocated, it would be reciprocated if it happened to me with him being sick. But he's a stronger man than I can imagine. But he's the man that God intended for me. And I'm blessed. And I know it's not always that way. So this happened. And I really 100% thought he might go. And of course he didn't. And so we began working through it. And I went through symptoms of, saddle block numbness. And that was probably about for a year or so after being married. And then, along comes some eye issues where I noticed the nystagmus, which was the eyeballs going back and forth at a rapid pace. And I feel like mine was a little more intense, but I'd had no idea. And but I was working at the time, so try doing people's paperwork when you can't see all the little details. But thank God I'd been doing this job helping people with disabilities for a couple years, so I almost had the paperwork memorized. And it took me a while to say, Roxanne, it's time to stop, because you want to do the best job you can for people. But I don't know. All these weird things happen, and all these moments where you can look at it and say, hey, I'm going to be upset about it. I'm going to be angry about it, because I was mad. And I'm not going to lie. It took me a few years and a few bottles of wine. And I always say that, and there's no lie. Every year I have a different issue where I feel like I don't want to deal with that. So yeah, I had the numbness, and then I had some blindness, and then I had, of course, tactile numbness with my hands. And then I had, what else did I have? I had some crazy weird, like, spasticity at night. I do still have. I have all these things still. But my foot does this thing where it goes up and down, back and forth, like it's losing its mind while I'm sleeping. Not any other time. It might want to during the day, but apparently my body's got it under control. But when I'm sleeping, that thing is crazy. And it's funny because my husband thought for years that I was scratching him with my toenails because I was pissed at him. But honestly, I was scratching him with my toenails because my toes and my feet were doing whatever the heck they wanted at night. But the funniest thing about this story, not the whole story, but this one little pocket of a story, is it was funny because I didn't realize it was going to be an issue with this thing. I got used to my legs moving all night. But I decided to get some knee-high boots that were flats, because of course we can't do heels. And I was using a walker, so I felt like it would be fine no matter what. And then what happened was I went to go put these things on, and they were so cute. And it only fit on one of my legs, not the other one that moves all night. And I realized that one leg was a little thicker than the other one. And it's one of those moments where you're mad and you're irritated, but you can't help but laugh at it. Because there I was trying to force it on the other leg, thinking, no, I bought these things and they're going to work. My point is this. There's always these moments that are upsetting and hurtful when this disease path happens. But you have an opportunity to take it in, let yourself cry. Those are healing waters, by the way. Don't ever fight that. And then you say, you know what? That was funny. That was ridiculous. About the boots and the giant one calf. And I mean, that's kind of not sexy either. And I guess me and my husband would discuss it, but I don't know. It's what I'm used to. So anyways, I think, and I know that everybody's walk is different. And I was ready to subscribe to the idea that I was going to get dead real fast because of my family. But everybody's disease is different. My sister's disease is different. She can still run. She can still jog. She can do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like she can do like CrossFit things. I'm happy to just make it to the potty on time or get down the stairs without losing my britches. So all in all, there's no easy way to get through this disease. But what that is that you have this community here, of course. You have these stories on this radio thing. And then also you have a support system and the support groups on MS&Me. And take it in and learn what you can. Arm yourself with knowledge. Arm yourself with possibilities. Because, we do things. Yes, we have all these problems and we're very sick. And sometimes we do things, a little differently than others. And it takes time to get there, to feel okay about it. Like, anything you decide to do that you used to do, it's going to be different. But you can still do it. You can just get the tools. And this place is a place where you can get all the tools you need to help you move forward and live. To be real, MS doesn't kill. You know, everybody says, oh, complications with MS. The big killer is failure to thrive, which means giving up. You notice when people go to these homes or these places, these nursing homes, and they don't live much longer because they lose their individuality. And I'm telling you, there are so many adaptive tools out there that will help you on every step of your MS journey. There's just no excuse for it. Matter of fact, even like the computer, there's this thing where you can talk at it and it writes down what you would normally type. And it's called the Dragon Naturally Speak. It's so awesome. But it takes getting used to, so give yourself time to get used to that. So I guess the big deal is that it doesn't end with the diagnosis. There's so much life to be lived. And, you know, I've done a lot of things to try to be well. I've tried many medications. I've tried many trials. I've tried, you know, anything you can think of. And so overall, all of it's your choice. Whatever meds you decide to take, whatever life choices you decide to have, it's yours. This is your baby. And you can choose to put styling, FUBU, awesome, whatever, little decals and maybe some bedazzling of your baby, meaning your baby MS. Don't let this disease rob you, because you are not it. You are the person that is deciding to live beyond it and through it. And later on, I'll share some stories of crazy little adventures I've had, and like the ability to use my words where I couldn't use my other parts and pieces, because a lot of my body's kind of jacked. But the mouth works. So I'm going to use it until it stops working. And I'm believing it's not gonna. I intend on being a support system to people any way I can. And I'll get into what I used to do before I got sick. And there's all these little details, all these little stories. But if you look around and you make time to just take in what you're seeing and who you're seeing, people do amazing things all the time, even through disability. I know a gentleman who he couldn't speak a lot, you know. Actually, I know him. I've been talking to him recently. He doesn't talk much. But oh my goodness, he is the most astronomical artist. And no, he doesn't have MS, but he has another type of acquired brain injury. And yes, we fall under that umbrella. Just if you're looking for benefits or services or anything like that, make sure to Google that, because sometimes some stuff really pops up and you didn't realize you qualified for it. On a different note, he is amazing. You know why he's amazing? It's because he still fights and he does beautiful things. I mean, I'm a painter, but this man makes me so jealous, I can't stand it. But then you can't help but applaud it, because you're like, wow, it gives you perspective. Just like, you know, people seeing me with the walker and whatever else is perspective. It's a whole nother thing, man. Everyone has something a little different and has gifts in different ways and has abilities that they probably didn't realize they had until after their crazy disability. So what do you do now? You got diagnosed. You have saddle block numbness. You have a numb crotch. You don't see as well as you used to. You choose to rise above. And like I said, it takes a couple years. Give yourself those healing waters. Let yourself cry. Because it's your MS baby. Meaning you're the person who gives it whatever it needs to survive the MS monster, or you're the person who gets to decide what you're not going to put up with. I say put that MS baby in the corner. Do the medications you need if that's what you choose. Do whatever kind of healing process that you need if that's what you choose. But be fair to yourself. People couldn't imagine what it's like to be out in space with multiple sclerosis. And that's what it feels like. It feels like nobody hears you. Nobody feels it. Oh, you don't look sick. That's what you hear at first, and that's always interesting. And I bottom line, we don't look sick all the time. And when we do, we do. And people still are going to pass their judgment or do whatever they're going to do. But for me, it works as an opportunity to reach out. I reach out to people with MS and other conditions and stuff, but it helps me to enlighten people who do not have conditions and are curious, because people are curious. People are curious about what's happening, why it's happening, and they don't understand why your disease works the way it does and why it happened to you. And we don't know some of those things, but it gives you an opportunity to educate them, because people don't know. They don't know until they know. And be patient with people, because sometimes they ask really silly questions, but it's because they're ignorant to it. And it's your job to give them a positive direction of enlightenment. It's not for everybody to talk to people with disease, or be a person who's sick to talk to people who don't have conditions, because sometimes we're just angry and irritated and we don't know how to feel about it. But I hope to help empower you to realize how fantastic you can be. So many opportunities, so many adaptive tools, so many people that you can reach out to get the support you need. I can't imagine what it was like to get diagnosed with MS when it was still like this weird, disease that nobody knew anything about, like when my mom was sick or even before that. I run into people who have had this disease for going on, 35 years. And I guess my mom probably would have been quite a bit older, and that might have been how long she would have had it if she had survived. But it's not your disease. It's your life. Use the tools that you have available. Use the networks you have available. Utilize MS&Me. Utilize whatever you can. Utilize Google. You have questions about something, try to figure it out. And then you can sit down with your doctor with a giant spreadsheet. Don't go in empty-handed. You write down a list of stuff you're going to talk to them about, because I know it gets a little overwhelming when you go in there. Things like that, little tools, little things. And you can see some conversations on these blogs or on these little chat rooms and stuff like that that could give you the information that you need. And don't forget how blessed you are sometimes to be alive and have air in your lungs every morning. Don't forget that you have an opportunity to change your life. You have an opportunity to be whatever person you want to be. I mean, second to not being able to do cartwheels, and that's a whole nother story, and I'll tell you about it later. But anyways, use the opportunities and do what you can while you can. And when you can't, use the tools you need to be well anyway. And I don't mean physically well, which is important, but I mean mentally well. Give yourself the tools to be a strong individual. So I guess that's all I'm going to add today. And I want to thank you guys for checking in with me and hearing kind of my crazy monologues. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Maybe I'll have a situation where I can reach out, or you can talk to me. But anyways, thank you. And I look forward to chatting your face off at another time. Thanks.